Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into Genesis chapter 42.
We are. And it opens in a pretty grim situation. There's this severe famine hitting Canaan.
Yeah, forcing Jacob and his family into, well, a desperate spot. We're going to unpack what happens when necessity drives them towards Egypt.
Absolutely. The encounters, the tension. It's quite a chapter.
It starts with Jacob hearing there's grain available down in Egypt.
It's the rumor, yes.
Yeah.
And he's clearly frustrated with his sons.
You can really hear it in that line. Why do you just keep looking at each other? It's like, do something.
Exactly. He's exasperated. They seem almost paralyzed, you know?
So he pushes them. What's the core instruction?
It's direct. Life and death direct. Go down there and buy some for us so that we may live and not die. Simple as that.
Okay, so the mission is set. Who actually goes? Does everyone head south?
No. 10 of the brothers go. Joseph's older brothers.
But not Benjamin.
No, Jacob keeps Benjamin, Joseph's younger, full brother, at home. The text is specific. He was afraid that harm might come to him.
Which, I mean, given their history, especially with Joseph, that makes a lot of sense.
It really does. That fear for the remaining son of Rachel is palpable.
And it wasn't just Jacob's sons making this trip, was it? This famine was bigger.
Right. The source mentions they were among many heading to Egypt from Canaan for grain. It gives you a sense of the scale of this crisis. Regional devastation.
So these 10 brothers, they arrive in Egypt looking for food, and they come face to face with who exactly?
Well, they come face to face with the governor, the man in charge of selling the grain. And, plot twist,
It's Joseph.
it's Joseph. He's risen to this incredibly powerful position.
But they don't recognize him at all.
Not a clue. They bow down, faces to the ground, just like in his dreams years ago. But they see an Egyptian official.
Yeah.
Joseph,
Which
however,
recognizes them immediately.
instantly. And the text notes he remembers those dreams right then. Imagine that moment.
Intense. But he doesn't reveal himself. He actually speaks harshly.
Very harshly. He pretends they're strangers, enemies even. Accuses them flat out. You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected.
Wow. Talk about a shock. They come for food and get accused of espionage. How do they react?
They're obviously scrambling. No, my lord, they insist. We're just here to buy food. They try to explain who they are.
They lay out their family background.
Yeah, trying to sound credible. We're honest men, not spies. All sons of one man in Canaan.
And they give that specific detail.
Right. Your servants were 12 brothers. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no more.
One is no more. Hearing them say that about him must have hit Joseph hard.
You have to think so. But outwardly, he doubles down.
Still insists they're spies.
Yep. It is just as I told you, you are spies. And then he lays out a test.
A test of their honesty. What does it involve?
It's severe. He swears by Pharaoh's life they won't leave Egypt unless their youngest brother comes down.
Benjamin. He demands Benjamin.
Exactly. His first idea is send one brother back to get Benjamin, the rest stay locked up.
He actually imprisons them.
Puts all 10 in custody for 3 days.
3 days to stew on that impossible demand. Does he stick to that plan?
He modifies it. On the third day, he comes back and says, do this and you will live, for I fear God. A slightly different approach.
Okay, what's the new deal?
One brother stays behind in prison. Just one. The other 9 can take grain back home to their starving families.
That sounds better. But there's a catch, I assume.
A huge one.
Yeah.
They must bring Benjamin back to him on their return trip. That's the proof he needs. Bring your youngest brother to me, he says, so I will know that you are not spies but honest men. Their lives and Simeon's freedom depend on it.
Facing this, this amended but still incredibly difficult test, the brothers start talking amongst themselves.
They do. And crucially, they think Joseph can't understand them because he's been using an interpreter the whole time.
So they speak freely. And what comes out?
Guilt. Immediate, overwhelming guilt about Joseph.
They connect the situation right back to what they did to him.
Directly. One says, and it's such a powerful quote, surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why this distress has come upon us.
Wow. After all these years, that's where their minds go.
And Reuben, the one who had tried to save Joseph back then, he jumps in too.
What does Reuben add?
He basically says, I told you so. Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood. It's raw. The weight of that past action is just crushing them in this moment.
And Joseph is hearing all of this, understanding every word.
Every word. And the impact is profound. The text says he has to turn away because he began to weep.
Even after everything, hearing their remorse affects him deeply.
It clearly does, but he pulls himself together quickly.
And sticks to the plan.
He does. Turns back, speaks to them again, presumably through the interpreter still, and then he chooses the hostage.
Who does he pick?
He takes Simeon and has him bound right there before their eyes. So Simeon is the one left behind in prison.
Okay, so Simeon stays. The other 9 get ready to leave with the grain. But Joseph adds another twist, doesn't he? Something with their money.
Uh-huh. He orders their sacks filled with grain, which is what they came for. But secretly, he also tells his servants to put each man's silver, the money they used to buy the grain, back into their sacks.
So he's giving them the grain and returning their payment. Why?
It's not immediately clear, is it? He also gives them provisions for the journey. But the money thing, that's going to cause problems.
Right. They load up, leave Simeon behind, and head back to Canaan. When do they figure out about the silver?
Not right away. It's when they stop for the night. One of the brothers opens his sack, probably for donkey feed or something.
And finds his money pouch.
Right there at the top. My silver has been returned, he says. Here it is in my sack.
How do the others react to that? Relief? Confusion?
Fear. Pure fear. The text says, their hearts sank and they turned to each other trembling. They immediately think something ominous is happening.
They ask that question.
What is this that God has done to us? It feels like another layer of trouble, not a blessing. It's unsettling.
So completely rattled by the governor, by leaving Simeon, and now by this money mystery, they finally get back to Jacob.
Yeah, back in Canaan.
Yeah.
And they have to tell their father everything that happened.
That must have been a difficult conversation.
You imagine, they recount the whole thing. The harsh lord over the land, the spy accusation, their defense about being 12 brothers.
Including the one is no more part, presumably.
Yes, and the youngest being back home. They explain the whole test.
About leaving one brother behind.
Right, Simeon. And the condition. Take the food now, but you must bring Benjamin back next time to prove you're honest. Only then will you get Simeon back and be allowed to trade freely.
Okay, so Jacob's hearing all this, and then comes the moment they unpack the grain properly.
Exactly. As they're emptying their sacks, boom. It wasn't just the one brother.
Every single sack has the silver pouch back in it.
Every single one. There, in each man's sack, was his pouch of silver.
That shared discovery must have amplified the fear.
Totally. It says, when they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened. It confirms that something deeply strange and possibly dangerous is going on.
And Jacob. How does he take this final piece of news on top of everything else?
He just breaks. It's devastating for him. It feels like the culmination of all his losses.
He has that incredibly anguished line.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me.
Just pure despair. He feels like the world is conspiring against him.
And completely overwhelmed by grief and fear.
And Reuben tries to step in, tries to salvage the situation somehow.
He makes this really extreme, almost desperate pledge, trying to convince Jacob to trust them with Benjamin.
What does he offer?
He offers his own sons' lives. You may put both of my sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Entrust him to my care, and I will bring him back.
That's intense. Does it work? Does it sway Jacob?
Not even slightly. Jacob's refusal is absolute. My son will not go down there with you.
And his reasoning goes right back to his deepest fear.
Exactly. He explicitly links it to Joseph. His brother is dead, and he's the only one left, meaning the only remaining son of Rachel. He cannot bear the thought of losing Benjamin, too.
He fears any harm coming to Benjamin on that journey.
Would literally kill him. He says it would bring his gray head down to the grave in sorrow. There's no negotiating past that level of fear and grief.
So that's Genesis 42. Wow, we go from famine and a desperate trip for food
to this incredibly charged encounter filled with unrecognized identity, accusations, tests.
The brothers' long-buried guilt bursting out, Joseph's hidden tears, the weirdness with the silver.
And it all lands back on Jacob, culminating in his total refusal to risk Benjamin, leaving Simeon stuck in Egypt and their future food supply in jeopardy.
Thinking about this chapter, what really strikes you? Is it the way the past just refuses to stay buried for the brothers? Or maybe the complexity of Joseph's actions? Is it revenge, a test, something else?
Or Jacob's reaction, that paralyzing fear born of loss. It really dominates the end of the chapter, doesn't it?
It does. It leaves them in such a difficult position. So here's a thought to leave you with based just on this chapter. We see Joseph setting up this intricate test, seemingly pushing his brothers to confront their past and prove their change. But we also see Jacob's absolute grief-stricken refusal to engage with the test's core demand.
Right. The whole thing hinges on Benjamin, and Jacob says no.
So, considering Joseph's elaborate setup and Jacob's immovable stance, what does this chapter really show us about the tangled web of fear, maybe manipulation, and the sheer weight of consequence that's trapping this family? What deep, unresolved issues are just left hanging completely raw as this chapter closes?